Hello and welcome to Perspectives for Thursday, May 26th. Joining me is Sister Nuala Kenny. She is a familiar face to many Canadians. She's a Sister of Charity of Halifax. She's also a physician, and she founded the Department of Bioethics at Dalhousie University, and most recently sat on the Provincial Territorial Expert Advisory Group on Physician-Assisted Dying. Thank you for making time for us.
You're welcome.
So you were on the, as I mentioned, you were on the Provincial Territorial panel of experts. Why did you feel the need to go ahead with sitting on that panel?
I took that on, which wound up being probably the most difficult experience of my life, precisely because with the February 6, 2015 decision of the Supreme Court to legalize assisted death and the need to have some kind of regulation, I felt it crucially important to do whatever I could to minimize the harm of that legislation, particularly the harm to vulnerable persons and the harm to protection of conscience for those like myself who would be objecting to the performance of assisted death. And
do you feel you were able to have an effect? And I can guess more or less where this answer is going to go based on your statement, your statement you just made, but do you feel you were able to have an effect on the shape of Bill C14?
Well, in actual fact, there are 2 or 3 steps before Bill C14, which is part of the frustration of all of this. I actually was very satisfied that a position that had been developed on conscience, protection of conscience for individuals and for institutions like faith-based healthcare, that had been developed by the Catholic Health Alliance of Canada, that is the ethicists across Canada who work in Catholic facilities, that I was able to take that position, which looked at the importance of protection of conscience and defining then the duties of non-abandonment of conscientiously objecting doctors. I brought that to the PTEAG, and I was very happy that the recommendation, though it was hard fought, was actually included, so that what the Provincial Territorial Expert Advisory Group decided was very compatible with what we had hoped for protection of conscience. I didn't make much progress at all on protection of the vulnerable, but that is a story, I guess, for another day. The problem is that when the Provincial Territorial recommendations went to the all-party parliamentary committee, they were, in fact, altered profoundly. The all-party parliamentary committee wound up with recommendations that were almost more liberal, more broad than the Supreme Court decision itself.
Oh my, so we really don't know what that will look like from province to province.
Look, where we are right now, less than 2 weeks away from assisted death being in full effect in this country, is we don't have the federal bill C14 passed. Once it finishes at the House, it has to go to the Senate. The Senate has already indicated that it feels that there are some restrictions that they cannot tolerate in Bill C14 as it stands. And we may, in fact, be here on June 6th with assisted death being legal and totally unregulated in this country. And what that means for the vulnerable, for care of the sick and dying, and for those whose conscience really needs to be protected is really very serious.
Some groups have talked about invoking the notwithstanding clause. Your thoughts on that?
Well, the issue of the notwithstanding clause could have been invoked right after the Supreme Court decision. I mean, we did at the time have a majority party in government at the time. It could have been invoked if there had been political will. There has been no political will. And this late in the day, there will be none, no.
That's all the time we have. But thank you so much for telling us about your experiences and your concerns.
Well, people need to pray that something by way of protection comes out of this.
Wonderful. Thank you for watching. As Sister Kenny said, we got to pray now. So if you are watching us on our television network, please stay tuned for our broadcast of the general audience.